Hello, my name is Alec Baird, and this is my senior project for BYU Idaho, a CS 499, and it is entitled Oracle Form Migration. Now, I have three core requirements that I was supposed to complete in the senior project. The first one was the ability to query data based off of any given parameter. The second was the ability to insert data based off of a form submission. And the third was to modify query data that is returned from a query. So first, this is going to be my database environment, and I'm going to demonstrate the functionality of my senior project by using simple SQL commands to demonstrate my database inserting, selecting, editing, deleting, etc. So first of all, I'm going to show that there currently is no item in the database. That needs to be where, excuse me. There is no item in the database with the drawing ID that is equal to 9999. Now that's important. That's just a demo I'm showing at the beginning. And I'm going to go in here. This is the application that I built. And I'm going to type in 9999 and click Add New. So this is going to take me to a form where you fill out basically an entry into that database. Now there are a few of these that I have specified have to be not null, just because those were the requirements given, and then others can be null. I think that should be all of them. So now when I go to click this Add New button, what's going to happen is it's going to add my drawing to the database. So now if I hit return home, we'll just keep that waiting for a second. But now if I go and if I run this query, you can see that it is successfully inserted this value into the database where it's supposed to go. So that's good for requirement number one, ability to query data based off of given parameters. Requirement number two was the ability to insert data based off of form submission. So that was requirement number two. Right here, now I'm going to type in 9999, which we know is a valid drawing ID. I'm going to hit query, and this is going to try and satisfy requirement number one. And off of the given parameter, I've returned the specific drawing ID that matches the criteria given. In this case, it was just a drawing ID. And it displays the four fields that the customers wanted to have initially displayed: the drawing ID, the title, the control center, and a revision number. So that satisfies requirement number one, which is the ability to query data based off of given parameters. Now, requirement number three asks to modify query data that is returned from a query. So here's the query. Now I have two things I can do. I can edit or I can delete. So I'm going to show the edit, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to put in test2 under all these fields. I'm going to leave these pre-populated fields here just because it saves some time. Okay, that should be good. And now I'm going to hit save. So this save notifies me of a successful edit. So I'm going to go back to my database. You can see it's still showing the results from 1. But if I requery, I'm getting test2, which shows I'm able to edit an already inserted field in my database. Now, as I'm going to reboot this, just because I haven't obviously added a back to home button on that particular view yet. As I reboot this, I'm just going to talk about the grade I feel I deserve and the stretch challenges while it's building. So I had a few stretch challenges. The biggest one was to add form constraints that weren't implemented in current production. That includes application guidelines, table constraints, drop-down fields, read-only versus read and write privileges, as well as mobile responsiveness. Now, I've begun working on those, but I don't really have any progress on them to show, which I didn't expect to based off of the timeline I've given. I've begun to write SQL table constraints by specifying that specific fields need to be not null that I mentioned earlier. These 6 fields right here can't be null. The CM type, control center, drawing ID, status date, and checked out date. Now, because of that, after looking on the senior project recommendation for your grade, I meet all of the core requirements, and I've made minimal progress towards my stretch requirements. So I feel that the grade that I deserve for this senior project would either be a B+ or an A-, just because I wasn't able to implement a lot of the stretch challenges, but I hit all of the core requirements, and I was able to produce something that works. The last thing I'm going to show you is what happens when you select that delete button. What's going to happen is it's going to delete that entry from the database that I've shown here, and this is just another feature of requirement number 3 to modify queried data. I treated modify as either an edit or a delete, so I've shown you the edit process, and then I'm now showing you the delete process. As I mentioned earlier, the reason this is taking so long is I'm using a work laptop, which is pretty low on processing power, so it takes sometimes a minute and a half for this web form to actually build, whereas at my desktop at work and on the computers that the customers will be using, it's about a 3 to 4 second load time. So hopefully that's not reflective of the code I've written or the migration that I've done. So right here, we'll put in 9999 again, hit query. It'll return us one result because there's only one result that specifies to that parameter, now updated with our edits. I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. So what it's going to do, it's going to run, it's going to let me know there was a successful delete. I go back here, and when I query, it's going to show me that there is no field with drawing ID 9999 in the database any longer. So that's my senior project in a nutshell. This was a migration from an Oracle form, which I showed in my requirements document. Due to some security concerns, I'm not really able to demonstrate that form because it is still the current form in production until mine is finished. So I can't show what it came from, but I can show that this is what I have built. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or comment. If not, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.